Okay, now the grip. First we need to open the handle. Okay, so you have the handle, and because we're gonna fit the handle into the grip, so we're gonna use this. Start with the handle. So first step is to save this as your grip. So I'll just save to some other place. You need to name your part well. Alright, so this is a new file. Okay, save as the grip. Then we're gonna create some sketches. Then make a sweep. So those are the sections. The yellow arrows, that's the guide curve. Okay. So the first step is to delete the shell, and the step after that. So we need to delete those two steps, or you can take a look by suppressing them first. Actually, we don't need them anymore, so just delete them. Then the next step, let's take a look. Make a sketch where we're gonna position those points which we're gonna put the data on. So first we'll hide the extrude, make a new sketch, and it's on XY plane. Alright, so we need this curve to position our points. Now we'll project a single curve. So here, single curve, pick this curve as well as this one. And I don't think you really need to project this curve as well as the circle. So that's the only one you really need. We'll just project that curve and hide sketch 1. Okay. So once we have that curve, we will put some points here. We need 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So maybe it's easier to turn off the center. So we'll snap to only the curve. And be careful, don't put point on the midpoint, end point, because once it's there, you can't move them. So we want to put on the general place. Okay, then if you want to, you can turn them to reference. So I selected the 4 of the points, right click, and still have to right click on the points. It's too hard. Select. I'll just come here, convert to reference. Okay, you don't have to do this. And the next step is the dimensions. Okay, so 10 degrees from x-axis. So here we have a line there, which should be on this point. So we click on this line and click on the point. So wait for the 3 dots. Then you have this window. We can pick the point. Then with those two selected, you can have the constraint point on curve. Okay, that's the first constraint. Then we use an angle dimension. Then we have P 211. That's 1.25 inch from this point to x-axis. 1.25. That'll move the point as well as the curve, because the curve is on the point. Then we have some dimensions from this point to this point. That'll be 0.6. Now here it's gonna be 0.9. Then last one is 0.18 or 1.8. 1.8. And the points are constrained. I'm really not concerned about this line. So either you can trim this side off to get something like in the in slides. Next step is making the datums. Okay, so I made a mistake here. It should be z-axis here, but you're gonna see once you start it, you will see what's going on here. So insert a datum plane And the first one is two curve or two lines. The first line is this line. The second line, if you click Y, you're gonna see that plane is not right. So what about we pick a Z-axis instead? And that one is touching Z-axis instead of this line. So what about we use alternative solutions? So it's actually with the two curve, you can have multiple solutions to find the plane. So this is one of the solution. And apply. Then we'll add the 3 in the middle is traditional on curve, okay, on this curve, but the position is on this point. But as you can see, I cannot snap to the point. So I think I didn't say that. Yeah, but if you open this location option, you can have this through point option. And you can now snap to the point. So this option will enable the snapping tool. Okay, I'm going to turn this off. Apply. And the next one, find that point. Apply this one, find this point. And if you notice, the arrow is pointing up, and I want them to point the same direction. You can double click. So that's the normal direction of your datum. Okay, and the last one is the endpoint. So we can change this to arc length, drag all the way to the end. Arc length is 0. Double click, flip the direction, and this one actually goes further than the arc. So we need to open the offset, and that will be 0.12 inch. And make sure you look at the offset direction. We want to go further. So that is the position of the datums. The next slide is the sketches on the data. So the first one, build a sketch on the first datum, and actually here sketch origin on the curve. Okay, so we need to specify this origin to stay on the curve. So we'll change this to inferred, and then we'll select that point because this point is on the curve. Okay, you don't have to put the sketch origin on that curve. There's another ways you can dimension your sketch. So we might do that for the second sketch. And we have too many datums on the screen. We'll just hide the other datums and then focus on the sketch we're working on. Then the geometry here is actually, you can tell that's two fillets. So we'll use profile tool, vertical, horizontal. You can go overshoot that one here. That might not be a good example. So let's try it this way. Horizontal, vertical, horizontal. It's about the same place. So we'll snap to that point, pull down, dash line. So that's same distance. Then we'll use a 3-point arc to close this. Okay, so that's the basic shape. Then we use infer dimension. For the total height, 0.85, and the distance on the top is 0.65. Okay, and that doesn't look good because it's not equal, so we'll select these two and make them equal. Okay, and we want to make sure this right side is on the right side of the y-axis, so we can add a distance to y-axis. That is 0.125. So in case your sketch origin is not on the curve or on that point, you can dimension this right side curve to the point. Okay, so that's the same thing. Or you can do you can use intersection point to find the intersection from this this guide curve. onto your sketch. Okay. Then the only thing left is the 2 fillets. Then we'll do fillet 0.2 inch. Go back to NX. 0.2 inch. This corner and this corner. Let's see if it's constrained. So 3 constraints, that means you can try to move it. Then we need the dimension at the bottom from the arc to the right side. It's 0.85. Then also it's not constrained on the y direction. That is actually midpoint constraint for this line to sketch origin. Okay, and also you notice the center of the arc is not exactly on x-axis, so that's point on curve on x-axis. Okay, so this point onto x-axis, and okay, so this one's fully constrained. Then you can proceed to next sketch. Now the second sketch, we'll hide the datum first and the first sketch as well. So show the second datum and build a sketch on top of that. Now this time we just move the origin away. Now you can see how we can draw the sketch without the origin being on the point. And basically it's the same structure. You have a symmetric sketch and 2 fillets, 1 arc on the left side. So we'll start with the profile tool and horizontal, vertical, horizontal. Then use a 3-point arc on the left side. Then add dimensions, or we can add constraints first. So midpoint for the vertical line here to sketch origin on. Actually, this time we're gonna snap to that point, which is not there. So we'll find that point by finding the intersection point from the curve, okay, into the sketch. So there's an intersection point there. Then we do midpoint from this line to the point we just created. Then also we can do midpoint, or we can do point on curve for the center to x-axis. If you take a look at here, the x-axis is actually aligned with the point, because everything is actually on the global xy plane. So that point on x-axis, then top and bottom are equal. Okay, then dimensions, that height is 0.89. Then the distance from here to the other side of the curve, 0.8. Now the distance from here to the intersection point is 1/8 or 0.125. Then we have the total width, including the arc, is 0.96. Everything's green. Then we add the fillet, is 0.2. Okay. Click the point. Click the point. Still fully constrained. Finish. Then we'll hide this and the sketch. Third datum. I think we don't necessarily have to show this datum. You can just select the datum and start the sketch. Okay, and the sketch origin, no, I still prefer this point actually. So that's the point. Okay, and next sketch is here. So you have the third, fourth, the fifth. The only difference is we don't have the fillets anymore. So basically, actually, what you can do is you can do a rectangle and a 3-point arc. Then add dimensions. Because it's a rectangle, the top and the bottom is already equal. You just have to turn this to reference. And what else? Midpoint constraint from here to origin. And let's try to add the dimensions. This will be 0.91 here. So 0.91. Then from Y to this side is 1/8. From the very left side to here it's 0.8. So 0.8, and the bottom line of the distance here is 0.45. Everything's green. The reason being is we have this, this curve is on the rectangle, so we don't need to put this on x-axis anymore because we have this midpoint constraint, and this is being a rectangle. Okay, so we can proceed to the next one. Next one should be datum 18. You can take a look, rotate. And by the way, we'll hide this datum 18. Create a new sketch. Drag the origin to this point. Well, actually, just click on that point. Then the fourth, we'll just create a rectangle first. 3-point arc. And turn to reference. And total height 0.96. Distance from Y to this side is always 1/8. That's actually the thickness of the rubber, the grip. Okay, and interestingly, I don't have a dimension for this portion. I guess because it's a tangent here. Okay, so total width is 0.75. Yeah, it's not enough to constrain, so we make this tangent as well as the top. Okay, so make that tangent. Still need one constraint, that's the midpoint constraint. So let's do midpoint from here to sketch origin, fully constrained, then proceed to the last one. Okay, that's the last sketch. And where's my... So as you can see, the sketch coordinate system is flipped. The Z is now it's going inside the paper. So we're gonna flip it. So this way we get the distance we want. So if you click on that endpoint, it's actually a little bit off from the extension of that curve. But that is good enough. Okay, it's just the grip is really not anything accurate. We just need aesthetically make it plausible. So the total height is getting a little bit shorter, 9.3. Then again, distance from y-axis to the side is 1/8. Then we need a 3-point arc, and this time we probably can make this tangent from the beginning. So top and bottom, they're both tangent. Then from the left side to the right side, total width 0.56. And the last one is the midpoint constraint to the sketch origin. Okay, and turn this to reference. Finish. Now we can select all of the sketches, show them, and take a look. So, okay, so with all the section curves finished, they're those sketches are going to be the section for the swept. Then we need to create the guide curve. Let's go to the next page. So the idea of the guide curve is we will have one guide curve on the leftmost side connecting all the arcs, and also we will have two guide curves on the top and the bottom of those sketches. I tried to use this guide curve here, but the top and bottom will go wild, so we need two curves. Then the purpose of those two datums here are to make those top and bottom guide curves. In terms of top and bottom, I mean positive and negative z direction. So we'll create two datums, 0.48 plus minus from the xy plane, so datum, and this time we use add distance from xy plane, and we'll go up 0.48, hit enter. That's the first datum plane. And then the second datum plane will be from here and flip the direction. Okay, that's the second datum plane. So if you look from side, it's actually touching one of the sketches. So next, after the two datum planes, we'll just we don't need to draw sketches. We just create a sketch on the top, finish, and you just need to project this curve. Okay, if you want to, you can hide all the sections. So I guess it's a little bit easier to see what we're doing here. So project this curve onto the top datum. Okay, finish sketch, then create another sketch at the bottom datum, and you notice the Z is pointing down. We can flip it. So this way the orientation is the same as the one at the top. And project this curve again. Okay, project the curve on XY plane to the top and the bottom. So finish. So actually we don't need this anymore. Those are our two guide curves. Then we have 4 section curves. Okay, that looks like a wireframe we can create a sketch on, create a sweep. So next we go create this guide curve. Then this is actually on the XY plane. So if you want to, you can click on XY. Make sure this plane is on XY plane. And we can hide the two datums we just created, so we have less distraction. F8. Okay, I'll use this one. So this guide curve will be connecting all the sections. So we start with the profile tool, and as you can see, this bottom portion is just the one big 3-point arc. So from here we're gonna connect the midpoint to this midpoint to this midpoint and finish. And for the bottom 3 sections we'll use a 3-point arc to connect those 3 points. Okay, so those are the this guide curve, but remember guide curve has to be tangent. That's why we are using 2 fillets here. So the first fillet is 0.1 inch. You have to hit enter and then we'll click on this intersection point. And the second one is 0.4 inch. We'll click on this intersection point again. And then you will notice this is not constrained because the midpoint we just clicked, it's actually not constrained to them. So if you want to have a perfectly constrained sketch, you would have to use this intersection point, click this curve, apply to find that intersection point, then drag this point onto your intersection point. That'll constrain this point, and you can do the same for the other ones. but here I'm just getting lazy and not doing that. Finish the sketch. So this is the setup. Okay, as you can see in the next slides, I change the color for the sections. Those are the section curve, and the blue lines are the guide curve. So we do a sweep, and we're gonna start from select the connected curve for sections. So we can start from here, and as we all know, the right side is going to be aligned. So we'll click at this first section, add a set, click at the same location for each section, so they will have the same direction and the same origin curve. Okay, so that's the origin curve. You can change that if you want to. So then you notice all the arrows are aligned and all the directions are aligned or matched. So the guide curve, you can click from here. That'll give us one guide, but you can see here it's not following well. That's why we need the one on the top. Okay, and I made a mistake. I didn't add another set, so I'm gonna deselect this curve by holding down Shift and click. Then add a new set. Click this. That should make the top a little bit better. Then we'll add another set. Click this. So it's not because of the guide curve, it's because the alignment is off. So what we do is we change this to cubic first, then we change this alignment to by points. Okay, so all of a sudden everything comes back pretty good. So that is good enough for this project. We can hide the sketches by using this command. Okay, click the minus sign, and you have the only the solid is shown on the screen. Then next are some edge blends to make it smoother. So we'll do this one, top and the bottom, 0.15, and apply. Then the end is 0.1. Sometimes it'll say it cannot do it because it's complicated surface. You can make it smaller, then it'll make that. Then for the top, it's actually a asymmetric chamfer. So we do a chamfer here, and it's gonna say blah blah blah. Asymmetric. This is 0.13. The other one is 0.08. Okay, basically because it's a swept surface, so it's not a very simple surface. What you want to do is you can change this to face and trim. That'll take care of that. Then you say okay. So that is the solid, but it's not hollow yet. Okay. So what we do next step is the subtract. So you're gonna go back to extrude 2 and show this extrude. Now we have multiple solids in one part file, which is not really right. Each part file should only contain one solid body. Then your assembly would contain multiple solid bodies. And anyway, so here we do a subtract. We're gonna subtract the handle from the grip. So you do that. It'll make the hollow, and it's a perfect match to your handle because we use this handle. Okay, so this is the old setting I used before. By default, it's not there. Okay, and that's the grip as you need for the project. And next, I'm going to talk about how to make the make it prettier, right?